Hey guys, welcome to the Sibling Trap podcast. I'm your host, Barry. This is my co host, Katrina. Just a little preface here. I'm at the Las Vegas airport traveling on my way back to Houston. This past weekend, I was in Santa Barbara running the half marathon out there. It was a great event. I finished just over 2 hours, kind of slower than I wanted to, but I finished. The hills are definitely a thing. So, uh, yeah. So how are you today, Katrina?
Um, don't call me Katrina. You're like the one of three people in the world that I will let you call me
Uh,
Katie. It's fine.
okay.
It's a weird thing.
Well, we're gonna have to edit that out. But
It's fine. No, honestly though, like, okay, people, this is fine to leave in. People always ask me, like, well, why do you have go by two different names? And I feel like it just kind of goes in line with like I reinvented myself. So it's like I answer to either one and it's no big deal. But if you're more comfortable calling me Katie, just whatever, it's nice. Don't call me a bitch. That's all.
look, I just feel like I just want to call you whatever you want to be called. Like Katie's important to me because that's what I've always called you, and that's what I've always viewed you as.
Yeah,
But
then do
whatever
that.
is best for you.
I'm doing well. I went to do a float tank session for the first time today, and I feel like it helped me like relieve some of my anxiety. I had big anxiety last week and cried on my Instagram stories. So we're just feeling the feels and not being ashamed of them. But this weekend was really good. It was a really good weekend with my kids. And then today I'm just manifesting good things and I'm not stressing about things that I cannot control. So I'm happy to be here with you. Thanks
Good.
for squeezing me into your very busy life.
Yeah. Very busy life. Just traveling a lot, and I got a lot of work this week, so a lot of
Yeah.
things to catch up on when I get back. But
So
so
you
anyway,
chose
so
what
today's
topic?
topic is gonna be yeah. Uh, well, we chose. I mean, it's your week, so but I picked. Do you like it when a girl makes the first move, or do you like to be the one to go up to her? And the reason why it stood out to me this week uh, is, I mean, recently I've had like an experience where a girl kind of made the first move, not necessarily made the first move, but reached out to me first. And in the protected guarded season that I'm in, uh, I kind of had the guard up, And what's crazy about it is that she's just, I would say, in the same season, like I was telling you before the recording started, and it's just interesting how we identify kind of on the same path, not necessarily the same path, but just in the same, like I said, season. Um, Personally, from my perspective, when a woman makes the first move, I find it really attractive too. It's just kind of like this, I don't know, not really arrogance, but like the confidence, and that's not something you see a lot these days. Well, I mean, it's starting to grow a lot more, but uh, what do you think?
So I find this really challenging because I have never been shy to like say what I want to say or like make a move if I want to make a move. I well, I don't know if I would say never, but I'm now more than ever, and I don't really sugarcoat things. Over time, I find that it comes off initially as attractive, but then I think that it might catch men off guard in a way that they're overwhelmed and they're like, whoa, red flag, I need to back up,
Right.
which
Like,
is
you're
not
right.
fun.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. And the funny thing is like, it seems interesting because it's like, how many other guys is she approaching like this? Am I the
Yeah.
only one, or was I the guy that stood out? In my previous experiences in life, it's always been very hit or miss because like, it just seems very vicarious and not
Mm,
like the traditional way, like not like, I mean, we're in 2023, and what traditional way is there left? It's,
yeah.
women aren't at home raising the kids, except for the important ones. So, No, it's just it's different, you know, like women play such a larger role in society. And I think historically men have always made the first move. And that's something that I've always been kind of cautious about, just because it's like, is that woman going to still respect me as a man if she's the one that makes the first move and I accept, you know, and I, you know, just be a part of it? Or would it be more like, you know, is she gonna look at me kind of like these latte drinking soy boys, you know, like, not to throw any terms out there, but it's, you know, you got to think of it from a masculinity point. And like, I think masculinity has a lot of the make the first step, you know, behind it. Uh,
Yeah.
and, you know, femininity is more like, hey, you know, reservation. And, you know, you got to make the first move with me and you got to pay for the first date. I mean, we see where that gets you. But
So I think I don't it's a very interesting because it's like I don't want to waste anyone's time, you know?
right.
But at the same time, like what are you setting this situation up for if you're the one that's going to be making the first move? Are you like setting the precedent that like you're always going to be the one deciding things, like what happens, when it happens, how it happens? Like I have to be very intentional about not doing that, because I saw a TikTok today, actually shared with my best friends. It was like, you know, if a man is in crisis, right? Like if you go to a restaurant and something fell through with a reservation, right? And it's like a whole mess. Like normally I would be like, well, let's fix this, like jumping in to fix the problem. But then they were
Right.
like, no, like you need to sit back and like let him figure it out and say, hey, do you want my help? Instead of jumping in, because who fixes all the problems? Mothers. And like
Right.
I'm not out to be anyone's mom except for my kids' mom. So like it's such a unlearning and rewiring to like not be the fixer, or like the one that's like taking charge all the time, but also like having gumption to do it every once in a while. So I don't know,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Uh, and it really boils down to like who's in control, you know. And I hate saying control because it's such a,
I know.
you know, such a, I don't know, deep term, but like if you think about it, you know, you can't be in control at all times as the guy or as the woman, you know. It's just it's about sharing the control with your partner. But early on in the relationship, I mean, it's tough to navigate. And I really honestly I think making the first move is such a bold statement, especially from like a woman's point of view. Uh, and like being the fixer, like that's another thing that I feel like, I mean, it's very, I don't want to say gender based, but it is. Because like when it comes to like electronics, right? You know, like some women are like just dumb to electronics, right? So it's like,
Right.
hey, honey, can you, you know, hook up the TV? Or hey, the water heater is not working, you know, so like, can you look at it? So it's like, oh, like the guy's got to fix that situation. But when it comes to like emotional, like trauma and trying to work through that or fix that, you know, I feel like as a guy, like we tend to lean on our female partners a lot because it's like, yo, like I didn't grow up with a mom, so you know, I have a lot of trauma. But at the same time, you know, it's just I can't put that on that person because I feel like it's just they have enough problems probably, and it's like up to me to, you know, fix my own shit, you know. And
Yeah.
so it really just depends on what it is. And when it comes to children, you know, like I mean, we're both parents. I don't really have someone to rely on to fix problems with my son. I have to do it. You know, we're not going to go into detail, but like you're kind of missing that same side. So it's tough. Really, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of expectation put on you as the mom to take
Yeah.
care of your kids in like the emotional and in the physical, like every day cook them food and make sure that they have everything they need for school. And it's just, it's a lot of responsibility. But being a parent is, I mean, it's a ton of responsibility to begin with.
So what would you do
It's tough.
differently? Like how are you trying to change the way you do things when it comes to the early parts of a relationship or situationship?
You know, it's more like even if they make the first move, I'm still guarded, but in the respects, like I'm just looking for a friend, like friendship, building a friendship, I guess, stable foundation, because it's more like, compatibility. And even if like she's bold and it's like, hey, look at me, I have, from my experiences, the ones that are like that have always been like very self-centered or very, I don't want to say narcissistic tendencies, but it's there. It's the truth. It's hey, look at me. I'm the center of attention. I want you out of all these guys or whatever, and yeah, it does make you feel good. I'm not gonna lie about that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, well, what's the, and we keep saying this, but like, what are your intentions? Like, what, set those intentions, But that's the point. It's like you have to have boundaries. You have to establish the boundaries early on in the relationship. It's like, hey, even though you reached out to me, and yeah, you might be pretty or you might have a lot in common with me, but like there's boundaries there.
I feel like, especially right now, you have to be really transparent about like where you are in your life and where you are in your emotional healing journey with anyone that comes into play. Example, if you are just having like a fun and playful vibe with someone and you just can see where this could be going and you're like, hey, I just want to say like straight out the gate that I'm getting out of a very long relationship and I have a lot of shit to heal from, and that might take a long time. So let's just not get ahead of ourselves in any kind of way. But that can be hard.
You're not allowed to say
Yeah,
X
sorry, I had to mute.
per FAA, you're only allowed to have
There's a guy
two
talking
bags
on the
of one
loudspeaker,
personal item and one carry-on
but the
item.
point is that it's crazy to me because the lady in question here in my mind, she's definitely understood that I'm coming out of a relationship. I'm still healing, and she actually kind of identified it before I had the chance to really tell her. And it's funny because, like I said, we're in the same season of healing and valuing our self-worth and just establishing those boundaries. And like I said, it came into a point where it was like, hey, I understand where you are because I'm also there. And I'm not going to push you into anything. I'm not going to force you to tell me that you're doing that. So it's tough. It's tough to not get sucked into it too, though, because like it's she understands, and that's not something that I have a lot of experience dealing with. It's always like, hey, I have to force you to understand where I'm coming from, and now it's like, hey, you don't really have to say much because I already know, and that's, it's nice, but at the same time, establishing that, yeah, it is very rare. And the cool thing is that I don't feel like anything is rushed. I feel like I'm able to just be myself, and that's something that's really good. It's just like, I'm, like you said, I'm tired of getting my time wasted or wasting somebody else's time. And that's the one thing in life that we never get back. You can lose all your money, you can lose your house, you can get it back. The time is just, it's so precious, so valuable. And you do set those clear boundaries, like you're drawing the line in the sand. So it's saving that time in the long run. It's like, hey, this is where I'm at, I'm not expecting anything super serious. And if we get to that point, then we get to that point. If we don't, whatever, we'll be friends. And she was totally okay with it. It's crazy to think that there's somebody out there that has been through a lot of the same events or traumatic parts of life, so, but they're out there.
All right, my daughter was practicing opera in the other room as if I'm not recording a podcast. What the hell?
I couldn't hear her.
Oh my god, she was so loud. Great high note. Save it for when I'm done.
Nice.
So it's something that's really like. Did you want to say hi, Uncle Barry? He's in the airport.
Hey, Barry.
Hi. Hi, Quinn. How are you?
He's asking, how are you?
Gouda.
Good. Gouda? Okay. Go on
Gouda.
over. Okay, I gotta finish with him, okay? What are you getting? One. Pick one. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I'm an raspberry.
Raspberry,
Which
okay.
one should I have?
Which candy should she have? Should she have the alien? Is this an alien
Oh,
lollipop
it's a
or a
lolly.
blow
Yeah.
pop?
Well, I like blow pops because of the gum.
He likes
like the
blow
gum.
pops because they have gum.
Yes.
But where does the gum go when you're done?
In the trash.
This is cherry.
Cherry, your
Ooh,
favorite
I like
flavor.
cherry.
He
Yeah,
likes cherry
cherry's
too.
good.
All right. You can just control your energy, okay? Because you have Cub Scouts soon. Okay. Okay, so
what
this
do you
kind of
think? Yeah.
what?
Go ahead.
It kind of segues into, someone that might be taking things like painstakingly slow. Like literally just like, how's your day going? Like, how was your weekend? Like, but there's like there's no meat there. Like, I don't give me your words.
At this time, I'll take.
I don't know. It's just like it's all about the expectation. Like if you're texting your friend, right? You got to look at it like that. Like you're texting a friend, what do you say? And you say, "Hey, how's your day going?" Or like, "What are you doing this week?" Or "How was the run?" Like things like that, and just and to be honest with you, it's like not going into too much detail about things, but also like just being honest, and just being clear about your intentions. And the thing is that you can talk about the trauma and you can talk about, oh, well, she did this to me or he did this to me. And like, honestly, I don't tell my friends those kinds of things because I'm like, they don't care. I mean, they care, but like, it's like, yeah, like, I don't want to sound bitchy, So it's like, how much depth do you go into? Like, and you just got to let that situationship grow into a friendship, and a friendship establishes a relationship. It's just really tough to do these days because everybody wants to jump into things so quickly. And it's like, like, I haven't even met you yet, so it's like,
Right.
you just gotta.
But
take
I
it
also, I
blame
feel like
social media.
it's like really painful to just be like going from like a really long-term relationship to then being like, so what's your favorite color? Like, it's just like, come on. Like surface
Yeah.
level is exhausting and I can't keep it up.
I get that, I do, but you got to learn those things about somebody. It's maybe think of it like an interview. Like, I mean, asking the favorite color. I mean, it's like, like that can just come up in random conversation while you're together. Like save those kinds of mediocre, on the surface questions for like in person, because like you get to establish like a baseline of somebody's body language by asking these little questions. Like, I usually ask the big things like, what do you do in your free time? Like, do you
Right.
drink a lot? Do you do drugs? Like, what's your go-to? And then I explain the things that I'm also deep into. Like, hey, I run every day. I'm a marathon runner. I don't have time to mess around. Like, I'm not at
Yeah.
the bar till 2 a.m. because I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And if that's not something you can understand, then no waste of time here. See ya. Kick rocks.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a video I saw the other day that was talking about how like, a green flag in someone new is like knowing that they have a purpose, that they have a passion, that they have something that they're striving towards. Because if they don't have a purpose or a passion or something that they want to get better at in life, then it's like you can see problems way ahead. And I was like, I never thought of that. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
point.
and that's true. Like, I mean, there's been times where I was, talking to a girl and things would be hitting it off, and then out of nowhere, she's like, "Oh, yeah, do you like cocaine?" Like,
What?
I'm like, well, maybe when I was 20,
Oh my
or
God.
something. Yeah, it was funny. I was like, okay, well, we're just done talking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm not here to judge anybody. If that's your lifestyle, that's your lifestyle, and I don't care. I'm not, it's not gonna hurt me any, It just I just thought it was weird
That's a
that
true
it was
story.
like a dead
Oh my
ass
God.
true story. I swear. We were just talking, normal talk about, I think we were talking about our favorite movies, and like the movie Blow came up, and I was like, oh, I love that movie. It's a great movie,
Yeah.
Old Johnny Depp, and I'm a huge
That's
cinema
funny.
buff. So, and then she was like, oh, do you like cooking? I was like, what?
Okay, so it's really interesting you brought that up because when I was in New York and I used to run at night, I think I was like 19 or something. I used to run at night and I would run past this like strip of bars down Northern Boulevard in Queens, if nobody knows, but like whatever. It's like a whole strip of bars in Jackson Heights. And I would run past this bar and it'd be like late at night, like 11 o'clock at night, and these people are just like hanging out, right? And he's like, you should come back and get a drink. And so I did come back after I showered and was hanging out and having a good time. And then he literally just pulled out a pack of cocaine. And I was like, he's like, you want a bump? And I was like, I'm gonna go, but it was nice to meet you. And I was like, can you imagine how different my life would be if I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Oh my
sure. Why not?
God.
Like, I'm not here to frown on anybody's extracurriculars,
Right,
But
but
it's
it's
just
just
not
not for me.
something. Yeah, just not something I'm looking for. Uh, so
That's
yeah,
funny.
and you really got to establish. I mean, that's a boundary. That's like hey, I have kids, or I have a kid. It's just not something I'm looking for, or for my kid to be around. And like I said, you also have to just kind of spend that time asking the big questions first, because the little questions, they come later.
So is it intimidating as a man? Because you know me, like I'm very straightforward and I don't sugarcoat things and I don't waste anyone's time. And is it intimidating for a man to have someone come into your life and really just start asking like some deeper questions or that aren't surface level? Like, how do you navigate that? Or like, what's your perception? I'm just curious.
Well, I think that as long as you're honest, if you're honest about, like, if you were asking me those questions, I would be like, well, why is she asking this? And it's probably because she either has a similar story or a similar trauma or something like that. She's trying to understand how I would handle a situation like that. And those deeper questions, I mean, I'm the same way, we're hopeful romantics, so we look for the deep stuff. And it's really hard to not get sucked into it, because that's the stuff I really want to talk about with somebody. I'm not here for the surface level shit.
Right.
But the thing is that unless you find somebody that's understanding and can kind of either relate, or just maybe not relate, but just like I said, be understanding, some of those deep questions can get turned around on. Like a lot of times when I tell women, oh, I grew up without a mom, they're like, oh, well, you have, attachment issues, or you're anxious.
Don't we all?
And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, everybody has their own attachment style, but it's crazy to me that people are like, oh, well, you have trauma that is probably unresolved, so I'm not even gonna get into it with you. And it's like, yo, dude, like,
Yeah.
I'm a self-made man. Like, I grew up without hugs and kisses every night, but I still survived, and I've still developed a very interesting life for myself. And I have had plenty of relationships that have worked out, and friendships that have worked out. Oh, speaking of, I have a friend has a secure attachment style. She did a quiz. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Exciting.
She messaged me on Facebook and was like, hey, guess what? And I was like, what's up? She's like, oh, I have a secure attachment style. I took a quiz and she sent me a screenshot, and I was like, oh no, we got to get you on the show or something.
Yeah.
We got to cameo you in. So
Let's do
working on that. But and it was funny because like, she's been a really big positive influence in my life. She's a really good friend of mine, and it makes sense because she's like really bold and really secure about herself and her self-value and her worth. And it's just like, I'm just like, wow, I never noticed. Like, I never put two and two together. but it makes sense now that she said something. So that's a big win there.
That's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's really just about identifying yourself, and asking those serious, deep questions when you're trying to navigate a new thing with somebody. I feel like, I mean, it has to happen because there's a lot of like deal breakers out there, like
Yeah.
I look at the boundaries that I set, and when I ask those questions into how I get the reactions, sometimes it's just like, oh, okay, well, that's just not going to work for me, and it has to happen.
Yeah.
And the
And
faster and earlier it happens, it's just my opinion. It's just better in the long run because like we're not wasting time.
I find that
All right, and now
it's a
my favorite
major
group, the biggest I see,
non-sexual
C.
turn on if
All
someone
my
is a really
Cs,
good
1 through
communicator over
30,
text.
31 through 60,
Like I
go
can tell
forward.
so much
Right.
about a person if they're like, one line response versus like,
C1 through
I sent
60.
you a paragraph, you can send me a paragraph back. Like I appreciate it so much more now. And I'm like, it was so funny this weekend when you were sending me, it was a sappy weekend, y'all. It was a sappy weekend
Yeah.
and we were just here for it. But I was
really
sending Barry
is.
messages of like, I'm just so proud of you, like look at how far you've come and all this stuff. And then he like sends me this whole paragraph and I screenshotted it and I sent it to my best friends and I was like, you guys, my brother just sets the bar all the time. Like why this is what I want in my life, but like in a partner, and
Yep.
yeah, because my friends were like, oh my God, I'm just so in awe of like how he can articulate his his feelings and like just like be reciprocative and like, validating your experience. And I'm like, I know, like, isn't he just so freaking good? Like
It just takes time, and I
and
saw
the
this thing on
want
Insta.
to be that
Yeah.
way.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, we have history, we're siblings and you're my twin, and it's just,
Yeah.
it goes down to wanting that same connection with a partner. It does. And I saw this thing on Instagram that says, be clingy with me, always text me, annoy me, send me selfies, call me anytime, tell me about your day. I love that,
Yeah.
and it's true. It really is true. Because like you want to be that person with somebody else. You don't want the surface level all the time. It's just, it gets boring, It
Yeah.
gets really boring.
Generic. Like you did send
Yeah.
that to 15 guys.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like, whoa, I'm not the special, and when you're
Yeah.
special to somebody, it's kind of hard to hide that. But like you
Mhm.
said, when the woman makes that kind of effort, I mean, it is a huge turn on for me. I'm like, yo, like send me the book. I'll read it. I'll read it 3 times. I'm gonna find the best way to reply to it too. And it's just, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that has to do with a lot of like yourself as a genuine person. Like, are you genuine or are you just fake? Are you just narcissistic? And the people that are out there that are genuine, they want that connection. They crave that kind of connection with somebody. So,
Yeah.
and I'm that person. I'm here for it every day.
But then I also have to think
So,
about like not everyone is a phone person. Like not everyone is a big texter. And like that can be like short answers or short replies could be interpreted as like I'm not interested in this conversation versus like I just don't like texting and I'm not attached to
yeah,
my phone all day like I am. So that's an interesting, I have to get my head around that still.
yeah. And I'm kind of guilty of that too. I mean, there's points in my day where I put the phone down and I'm distracted or whatever. But it's all about, like I said earlier, the understanding level too. And like some people are phone talkers. Like they're like, hey, call me when you get out of work and we'll talk for 3 hours. And it's like, yo, like I could do that too. I'm just not going to get a lot of other things done in the
Right,
meantime.
yeah.
Like, unless I throw the AirPods in and I'm like cooking or something, I can do multitask, do 2 things at once. But and a lot of the phone conversations, I feel like you get more of the personability in the background because you hear their voice and you hear more of their body language through the phone. Texting is very dry.
Yeah.
I mean, emojis help, but but it's like, yeah, like I mean, we're just reading our thoughts at that point. We're not really conveying them or having to voice them. I like FaceTime. I mean, the Zoom calls with you. I get to see you. I get to see your reactions to things, and I feel like it's a connection that is kind of falling off on our society a lot. Everybody's a texter. I'm one of them. I'm guilty, absolutely. Or like Instagram messages or Facebook messages, and that also leads into like the whole like, what's your social life look like? You know, like, are you, you know, what I mean, your social pages look one way, but how are you really feeling? And you know, you can't really get that through text a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It takes those phone calls, and that's something that like I kind of challenge all of our listeners. Like, hey, like if you're hitting it off with somebody, give them a call, see how they go, see how that goes. You know, like you might get a completely different
I
person.
won't
through the
answer.
phone. Too busy. Text me.
It must be spam. Yeah. I'm a
Yeah,
90s
so
girl. Yeah.
it's like new phone. Who dis? But but that's. I mean, it opens up a whole different avenue because like it's. And it's crazy to me because like a lot of people say, oh, well, you have a nice voice. And I'm like, I hate my voice. Like I hate hearing
Really?
pre-recorded stuff. I mean, it is, yeah. It's kind of a setback for me. I have to kind of get over it a little bit. It's been kind of a development thing for me. But
See, I connect a lot with voice. Like if someone takes the time to send me a voice message, I'm done. Like take me out to dinner. Like it's a done deal, you know? But like if you're just gonna like send me a generic text, I'm like, meh, like you don't stand out to me. But if someone
Right.
takes the time to do that, like yes, it just shows extra effort, which I appreciate.
yeah, I have a friend that, I mean, he's a guy, but like he just doesn't believe in texting. So like all he does is voice chat.
Yeah.
And like you're really the honestly the first person to get me into like voice chatting.
Mhm.
And it was just like I knew it existed, but I was like, I can just type it, whatever, you know. It takes
Yeah.
me 5 seconds to text.
It's totally different though.
But it really is, because like I said, you get that human emotion aspect through the voice, like the sound in your voice. Like, are you afraid? Are you scared? Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you mad? You don't get that through text unless you throw in the emojis, you know, and or
Yeah.
all caps or something, you know. It's just
Yeah, like you can fake a text. You can't fake your voice.
exactly. And the fake people out there are the ones that only text. No offense. I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying like
Listen, I
it's
can do
so
voice
easy to
messages.
fake a text. Yeah. And it's so
Yeah.
easy to get sucked into love bombing and things like that because they all they do is text, and it's like, yo, I want to talk to you person to person, you know. And when they're in
Yeah.
person, like you can see right through it, you know.
Mm,
So you just have to be cautious.
I'm
And
not
but
ready.
you know, yeah, and exactly, I'm not ready. You know, in person stuff is just it's just like wow.
Cringe.
I
Yeah.
stress myself out. I get anxious about it. I'm like, is she gonna like me? Is it gonna go well? Am I gonna pay for everything? You know, it just it goes into a lot of deeper emotion, and I don't know. It's a scary thought. It really is a scary
Wow.
thought. I mean, making that first move, like I said, it's just bold, especially coming from a woman. It's like, whoa, you got my attention, you know? Because I feel like a lot of women nowadays, they don't do that. Like they're out there, they got 50 sit boys in their inbox, and they're just like, I don't like any of these guys. And from a guy's perspective, you have to do something to stand out. And
Yeah.
a lot of times I just ignore them. I ignore them. And that usually works. Girls love being ignored. No
No,
offense. I
no,
know.
I do not. I do not enjoy it at all. Thank you very much.
Exactly. It
So
pisses you off. So you're like, oh, what do I got to do to get this dude's attention?
no, I'm
And
gonna be like,
I
thank
feel
you
like
next.
that's such
Done.
a narcissist way to say it. But no, you
So
know, it's just being
I need
genuine with somebody is really honestly what stands out to me. Like, tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. You know,
I
be
need you to
yourself.
hold me accountable on something, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so I find that okay, this is gonna sound weird, but given what I do and given how comfortable I am on camera and on social media and how I do share a lot of my emotions and I'm pretty much an open book, that I feel is a little bit intimidating. And I feel like if I make the first move, then it's like really intimidating. But also, like if I don't make the first move, like it can either way, you know, it's like, do you
Yeah.
have the audacity to come and message me something? So I think I don't want to make the first move. I think that I just want to, like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if they're the right fit, then they'll step up.
It's so tough because you got to look at it like, oh, if you don't make something happen, if you don't put like a little hint out there, it could just pass you by, right?
Yeah.
And there's always that fear. You're always like, well, if I don't say something, or if I don't like his post or something, will he even notice? I would say, I mean, a lot of the times from my perspective, and it's tough to think about because like the women in my life, like they made the first move a lot of the times, or maybe not the first move, but like they got
Showed
noticed.
interest. Yeah.
Yeah, they showed me that they were interested in some way, shape, or form, and it like pulled me right out. Like, and then it enticed me to make the first move. Like, hey, like, can I get your number? Or hey, you want to go on a date? Or hey, can I cook you dinner? Or whatever it is, you know. And it's like, had I been more reserved and just kind of ignored those signs, would I have totally missed out on that experience? And that's scary to think about, you know, because we want the best, and to find the best, you have to put yourself out there. You really do. But you have to be ready. You have to be ready for that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's another thing about wasting time is like, if you're not ready to be serious, or at least not, maybe not serious, but if you're not ready to be understanding, if you know, like you're just guarded or jaded or whatever, maybe you shouldn't make the first move. Maybe you should just let things work out the way that they're going to work out. And that's something that I've had a lot of time to think about, is like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I have to let whatever I can't control take its course. And that's crazy to me to think about, because I'm like, oh, like I just want, yeah, I know.
Twins.
I'm like, oh, I want this to happen, but what if I mess it up? You know, why don't I just sit back, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then we'll keep it pushing. You know, that's my new mentality on everything, pretty much. I mean, relationships, friendships, life, jobs, races, everything,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
I know.
I'll be honest
And
with you, like,
go on.
oh no, it's just like with this specific woman in mind, I'm just like, I'm taking such a backseat. Like, I'm telling her everything about myself that is like obviously not just on the surface, but like the deeper stuff. But at the same time, like, I'm keeping things a little reserved because I don't want to rush into it, you know, and I don't want to waste her time, and I don't want to waste my time. I'm just letting it happen. Like, whatever happens, happens, kind of thing, you know. So
I love you. And I it's so fun when we're like in sync like that, because it's like all I've been saying the last week. I'm like, you know what? I'm just releasing control, and whatever's gonna happen is just gonna fall into line when it's supposed to. So that's really funny. But yeah, I think that the one thing that I really crave right now is really good conversation.
that's it.
And I don't
Same.
get that. So it's like, you know, is it wasting
Cool.
someone's time if you just want to have conversations? If you're straight out the gate, like,
Yeah.
I just want to get to know you better. Like, I'm curious
I mean,
about you.
that's where friendship comes in, you know, like
Yeah.
you have to build a friendship with somebody. You can't just be like, oh, like, I am not looking for anything serious, you know, but what's your favorite color? You know, or what's
For the
your
record,
favorite
I have
movie?
not asked any man or woman what their favorite color is. It was just an example.
I know, I'm just messing with you, but it
I
is
know.
true though, you know, and it doesn't have to be about yourself or your relationships or your parenting style. You know, you can ask about just stuff going on, you know, like, I mean, pick a topic. Like this weekend, the New York City Marathon happens, and I was talking to a friend of mine about that, and like she ran in that, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. Like, I'm about to do the Houston Marathon in January, and and you just find like these other topics that are just worth talking about, or like I was talking to some of my best friends ladies parents, this weekend. We were talking about history. We were talking about the conflict in Israel. We were talking about, I mean, there's just so much going on in the world at a given time that is a lot of really deep stuff. Like there's some depth to that. And like we talked about Ukraine, and we were like, talking about Russia because they're from Croatia and Serbia. Like they fled Serbia whenever the Serbian war was going on. And just hearing like from their point of view, those kinds of things, it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
like my life is nothing compared to that, but but thinking about it from a different perspective. And the only way to get those perspectives is to talk to other people.
Mhm.
There's just so much more that you can talk about.
But
Besides,
that requires me to like go to places that I don't usually go to, or like
or
I'm a hermit.
I mean, YouTube things, like
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
That's funny.
well, talk about your passions, like the things that you're passionate about. Like, yeah, and the other person might not be passionate about that, and you'll find out real quick whether or not they're worth talking to or not. Because whether or not I'm passionate about something, if somebody is going to share that with me, I'm gonna be understanding. I'm gonna say, hey, I don't know anything about that, but thank you so much for sharing that with me, because I'm always here for a new experience,
Yeah. And finding
especially from
people,
somebody else's point of view.
or like attracting people who like will just listen. Like
Yeah.
sometimes people just need to let them talk. Like just talk for a little bit. Like tell me about yourself. Tell me about what you're doing at work. And then like actively listening, which I'm still working on, because a lot of times like in my interview mind, I'm like, okay, but what's my next question? Like what's the next thing I'm gonna ask? So like I'm still working on that too, of like just being an active listener. But I need practice, like who wants to
Right,
come and
yeah.
talk to me? I welcome the DMs that are appropriate.
Send them out.
Right.
Something that I'm really passionate about is like behavioral patterns and stuff for my son. And like I have a really good friend. I spent some time with her, and we talked about autism and the signs and how to cope with it. And I was a sponge, dude. I was sucking it all up. I was like, how much can I
Yeah.
learn about this from this person? Because she works with them every day. Like that's her job. And a lot of times people, it seems kind of lame, but like talk about their careers kind of like to boast their whatever, their persona. But it's like, yo, dude, like like if you're in a career that you're passionate about, I want to hear about it. I want to
Yeah.
know, because like I might find that really interesting and go to school or something for it. You never know. Like things change so rapidly these days.
Yeah.
So
Crazy. Well, I think that's a
But yeah.
good wrap up. That was a good conversation. I feel
Yeah,
like there's so
absolutely.
much more to be
It
said
was a
on
good talk,
that,
though.
but
Well,
thanks for
it all stems from making the first move, like, and even in friendships, so you got to make the first move sometimes. Like, if you want to be somebody's friend, you got to let them know,
yeah, it's like
like
dating.
it's like, yeah, it is, but it's like, there's that meme or whatever. It's like, hey, like, you don't just see this person, you're like, oh, hey, I want to hang out with that guy every day, like, you're my new
Yeah.
best friend. You're like, you just kind of link up. It happens. I'm sure it does. But at the same time, like, you got to put in the work. Friendships, relationships, situationships, whatever they're called, So
Yeah. We don't want half-ass. We want people to put in the work in whatever we do,
depth.
you know?
It's all about the depth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
All
thanks
right.
for
So
joining me.
yeah, of course. I hope you
I
have a
love
great
you.
day.
You
And
too. Travel safe.
yeah, I'll see you
Thanks for
guys later.
listening.
And thanks. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for listening. Hopefully I get to Houston without any crazy bumps or anything crazy. So
You've got this. I'm proud of you.
peace.